excited to welcome everybody here to Tuesday Night Talks. My name is Matt Elkin. I'm here with Scott Martin. We're here from West Coast Elite Basketball and Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. Really happy to have everybody with us tonight. This is week 15 of Tuesday Night Talks. We've been doing this for 15 weeks. It's pretty incredible to think about. Scotty and I started this a while ago to basically create opportunities for players and for families to learn about some great schools, some of the great colleges and universities that are around this country. And so we're really excited to welcome the three head coaches that we have this evening on our show. But really quickly, before we get started, I'm just going to share my screen with everybody. We actually just finished up today our first event of our 2020 All-Academic Basketball Circuit. We're really, really excited for it. It was in Chicago, just finished up today. And we do have some events coming up as well. We have an event in Utah, our Super Bowl in Phoenix. We'll be having events in Seattle, California, as well as Nevada coming up later this fall. So if anybody would like some more information, please feel free to reach out to myself, Scott Martin, or you can check out the website there, allacademicbasketball.com. We'd love to see you guys there. And in the meantime, we're going to kick off tonight with a coach who's a great friend of ours. Does a great job usually attending all of our events that we ever run, in addition to many other camps. He's done a great job recruiting the West Coast, and we really appreciate him staying up late on the East Coast with us. Coach Chris Ehmer from Sarah Lawrence, welcome to the show tonight, Coach.
Matt, Scotty, thank you for having me on tonight. Really excited.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on. Like Scotty and I talked about before, we usually see you many times, many weekends throughout the summer and the spring, so it's been hard not getting to be here, but we're really happy to have you on the show tonight. So before we kind of dive into a little bit more about your school, give us a little bit of background about you, Coach. Tell us about kind of what brought you to Sarah Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually originally from the East Coast, from Pennsylvania originally. Did my undergrad at Washington College in Maryland, which is part of the Centennial Conference. I was there for 4 years. After that, I actually went home to my hometown and worked for my dad's company. I was an economics undergrad, so I never really had maybe a first interest going into college coaching, but it just kind of fell in my lap. While I was at home, I had the opportunity to coach at a high school and actually got a head varsity high school job right out of college. Did that for 2 years. Loved that experience, but talked to my college coach, and he kind of helped me get back into the college game. I wanted to get my master's, so I did what's called a graduate assistantship, where I got my master's paid for and also got a chance to coach college basketball. So I got my MBA and also got to coach college basketball at Alfred University. I coached, came in with a guy named Dale Wellman, who was at Williams at the time, got the head job at Alfred. And he now is at Nebraska Wesleyan, just won a national championship and was named Coach of the Year a couple years ago. Wow. So my first head coach that I got to learn under was a pretty good coach and had some good things going for him. From Alfred University, I decided I wanted to keep in college coaching and went to Kenyon College and was there for 3 years and learned from Dan Priest, who is a really close friend and a great mentor of mine. We talk almost on a daily basis still, so he means a lot to me and has really helped me a lot along the way. And then honestly had the opportunity in 2012 to come to Sarah Lawrence to kind of start and build a program. They were not NCAA Division III at the time, but they had plans to go on NCAA Division III, and they wanted to kind of start recruiting every sport, but they wanted basketball to be the main focal point for the NCAA push. So I came in and kind of started to build a program. And it's been a fun, humbling experience. You have to have a little patience when you come in. You really started from scratch, but it's a great location. I've met my wife here, had a baby here, so I'm in for the long term and love every minute of it.
Well, talk about a great coaching tree. Coach Wellman and Coach Priest both featured guests on our Tuesday night talk, so we're glad to continue along that trajectory with you. And real quickly, just tell us a little bit about what was that experience like for you, Coach, building a program from scratch? A lot of people take over a basketball program, maybe it was unsuccessful or very successful, and they're rebranding it, building a culture, but you literally started it from nothing and to where you are now. What was that like for you?
Like I said a little bit before, you have to learn patience right away. When I came in 2012 and we had a full 25 game schedule, and when I walked in the first day of practice, I had 4 guys on the court. Not one played high school basketball.
Huh.
Again, not one played high school basketball. So I went down to the dining hall and actually just kind of walked around campus and pulled some guys from the soccer team just from wherever. And I ended up having about 10 guys on the roster that first year, and knew I had to recruit. That was my main job. So we got through a full season that first year. We actually ended up winning a couple of games miraculously. Then I think the second year, Matt, you may have came in and seen us practice that second year. And, you know, we were nowhere near what a college team is supposed to look like in some things, but it's all about laying that foundation, getting the buy-in to, the family atmosphere that I was trying to, and the culture I was trying to create. I knew it was going to take time, and we had some losses along the way early on, and now we're having a lot more wins, and it's a lot more fun in that respect. But the guys have been great from 2012 all the way up through, and they're doing great things. The guys that graduated, it's been miraculous to see them have families now, have careers now. It's a fun process.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's really, really amazing that you've been able to do that and started from nothing, and now it's having a successful program and working your way up to it. So also wanted to talk a little bit about the school in general. So did you have something that you wanted to share with us, Coach, some information?
I do. So I have a little presentation here, if you don't mind me showing it up here and sharing it.
Of course.
Oh, sorry, I had to pull up here my PowerPoint.
Are you good? Just building up the anticipation.
No, it's really impressive, let me tell you. I don't know, can you see that now?
Not yet. Just go to if you go to share screen and click the box that it's in, that should work.
There it is. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yep. Now we got you now, Coach.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of start off with this. Sarah Lawrence College, we're located in Bronxville, New York. I always say it's kind of the location is the best of both worlds. We have a true residential campus. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, middle of Ohio, but you have access to kind of everything there is to have. If you want kind of the nightlife and the access to New York City, we're about a 25-minute train ride right into Grand Central Station on the Metro North. If you want kind of more of the suburbs, hiking, hangouts, the culture of Upper Westchester County, we're in the mix of it. Bronxville is one of the top 10 most affluent places in the country. We have a great little college town that's a commuter town. But again, the train runs right through Bronxville. It's a 25-minute express train right from Bronxville to Grand Central Station, so the access is kind of limitless. Quick little kind of overview of the school. By the numbers, 1,300 undergraduate students and about 300 graduate students on campus, so about 1,600 total students on campus. With that 1,600, about 1/3 of the student body are actually from California. So we have a very high West Coast presence. It's actually our largest student presence on campus. And then about 20% international student, and about 23% of the tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, kind of make up our student body. And then we do have 48 or 50 states represented right now on campus currently, and over 58 countries represented. So it's a pretty diverse student body. We were just ranked top 5 most diverse liberal arts colleges in the country, which is a pretty cool stat, I think, especially right now with everything going on. 9-to-1 student faculty ratio, so you have that access with professors all the time. The average class size is 12, and that's an average. Obviously, there's a lot more lower than that. 90% of our classes are seminar or lab style classes, which I'll talk more about in a second. And 85% of our students live on campus all 4 years. You're guaranteed housing all 4 years. One thing with the academic programs I will talk to you about, our academics is a little differently, but the programs you see, there's a number of programs here that we offer, from economics to, literature to history to pre-med, pre-law, pre-engineering. We have a great 5-year engineering program with Columbia University where you get a degree from Sarah Lawrence and a degree in engineering from Columbia. So you have some pre-professional degrees like that. And then I'm going to go into the academics here a little bit. This is kind of where we really differ. You probably heard a lot of the private liberal arts colleges talk about the academics and the access that they have. But Sarah Lawrence is very unique in this amount of time they spend with their professors. So you have what's called a donning process. So as soon as you come to Sarah Lawrence, you're assigned a don. And that don is an advisor you have all 4 years. It's going to be a person that is going to probably teach your first year class, as well as you meet with them every single week, your entire first year, one-on-one, and then sophomore, junior, senior, you meet with them every other week. It's really, they're there to be another mentor for you. They're making sure that you're kind of doing what you want to do, following a track you want to track. They're making sure that you're not getting too homesick. They're kind of what I always say, they're an academic coach, not a basketball coach, right? You have the athletic side, but then they have the academic coach. They're really there to make sure you're not falling behind anything and making sure you're doing okay. You have that same person all 4 years if you choose. You can change if you want. They're going to write the recommendation letter for your first job, for internships, for grad school. They're going to know you better than sometimes your parents may know you during those 4 years by the amount of time they're spending each other. So that's a don, and that's taken from Oxford. Our whole pedagogy, our academic pedagogy is taken from Oxford. Then you have the class structure, and this is really what's the unique part about Sarah Lawrence. Students take 3 classes. 2 of those 3 classes are what are called seminar-style classes. They're the bread and butter for our Sarah Lawrence education. The seminar conference model, it's literally a round table. So the picture I have on here is a round table. 2 of my current or former players are in this picture. But it's, again, 10 to 12 students is actually maxed at 12 students. So you're not going to have a big class environment at all. It's a lot of student discussion based type class where you got to be present. That's the one thing, you have to be present, and the professors just kind of moderating and pushing the class along. With these seminar style classes, you have your typical class that might meet twice a week for an hour and a half, but then you're going to have these one-on-ones with professors. So every week for these seminar style classes, you're going to meet one-on-one outside of class with your professor working on what's called a conference project. And what the conference project is it's a project that's going to be your original work. It's going to take place the entire semester of that class and whatever you're interested in that area. I'm an economics guy, so I'm just going to use, say it's an economics class. It could be something like maybe studying the euro and European and following like maybe a little research on that. But these one-on-ones are going to be outside of class, one-on-one with your professor, talking about making sure you're not falling behind in class, getting to know you a little better, and then working on that conference project with you for the entire semester. It's really unmatched. The amount of access you have to a tenured faculty member, it's unbelievable. You're going to get a chance to know a lot of pretty prominent people in their fields. By the time you graduate, they're going to help you out along the way for grad school, for internships, or even for jobs after college. That seminar style is something you're going to start your freshman year and it's going to continue all the way through to your senior year, taking 2 of those a semester typically. It's because the amount of work, it's hard to take 3. That 3rd class is going to be a lecture style class, a traditional lecture class, 16 to 20 students. And, that's pretty basic. But the real unique part, and I want to stress it a little bit more, the real unique part about Sarah Lawrence is that seminar style class with the one-on-one outside of class with professor. Princeton Review just named us top faculty in the country, as well as best classroom experience in the country because of that reason. It's the amount of access you have to your professor one-on-one every single week for every class you take. Even lecture style classes, you're going to have one-on-ones with your professor every other week, not every week. So I know it's a lot of confusing stuff because that's probably something you've never heard of. I understand that. We can talk more if you're really interested in it, as well as you can go to the website and learn some more. The other big piece to why you choose Sarah Lawrence is the access for internships. Uh, Being so close to the city, we are probably the only school, and I'm going to be pretty definite on this. We are the only school for Division III where you can be a men's basketball student athlete and do an internship and take classes full time. I can't think of another one that's going to happen in the tri-state area because of the flexibility that I give my guys, as well as the access they have to internships in the surrounding Westchester area, as well as in the city. Our career services department does a great job of connecting our students with alums, which is obviously you choose a school like Sarah Lawrence for the alumni network, right, for after to find jobs. But the alumni network does a great job of helping students out for internships. So our career services has this program here, and I'm just going to click on this business piece and see what pops up. So you click on business. It says, say I'm interested in going to the business route and want an internship or a job in that. You come to this page, and it's going to list a bunch of different areas. So consulting jobs, entrepreneurship jobs, startups, finance jobs, and human research, basically the whole process that falls under business. If I want to go to employers to consider, these are areas that we have alums and at the college career service department will connect you with. So I'm just naming a couple big ones like Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley, pretty prominent names that we have alums at that our career service department is ready to set you up with for maybe just one-on-one meetings or potential for internship or even jobs after college. And every single area is covered with this. The contact right here is who you'd reach out to, Angela Cherubini. You set up a meeting with her on campus, and you're moving forward with it. It's a pretty cool setup that the college offers in a lot of different areas: arts, media, entertainment, science, technology, math, environmental sustainability, human services, education, law, government activism. So a lot of different fields that you can kind of go in for internships. With basketball, it works out beautifully. So with the class structure, the 3 classes, students typically have off either Monday or Friday of not having a class. So you have a 3-day weekend almost for every student. And that allows them to be able to do an internship or a job shadow. So that Monday, that Friday, they may go into the city or they may stay around the area. But because it's a short train ride, students can be back on campus around 5:30 if they do an internship in the city on one of those days. We hold practice at 6:30. They can easily get there, have some food in them, and be ready to practice after a day at work. There's not many other places that really can make that happen, just because of access and logistics. So, yes, Sarah Lawrence College students do internships in the summer, as well as they get jobs right out of college. But the ability to do internships even during the school year is kind of unprecedented, and being a college athlete. Well, let's talk about the basketball side a little bit. So these are 2 of our captains. One is from DC. The one on the left and the right are from DC. I think they're great pictures, posterizing someone. And the one in the middle is a guy from LA. He was a first team all conference player for us and a 1,000-point scorer. Both these guys are 1,000-point scorers. Enrique, the one in the middle, is coming back for his senior year this year, and he will be a captain. And the one on the left and right, he just graduated. He was a 1,000-point scorer as well, and he just got a job at a law firm in DC. So he's doing some good things as well. Pretty excited. The one stat I do want to throw out is that 93% of students that graduate from Sarah Lawrence are either full-time enrolled in grad school or full-time employed within 6 months graduation. It's top 10 in the country for that. Again, 93%. So it's a pretty high ratio of students are doing great things right out of when they graduate. I'm going to show a little highlight film here. I think this is a fun thing to watch, kind of our style of play. Matt, you haven't seen this yet, so you can see the difference between my guys when you watched them a couple of years ago to where we are now. So a little different from what you remember, I'm sure, a little bit, Matt, but fun thing put together for the guys. And, they had a good year this year. We won our first ever playoff game. Second year in a row, we made the playoffs. And it was fun to win a game this year and make it to the semifinals. So a couple things for Sarah Lawrence for men's basketball. I don't want to go into too much of the training stuff. We can talk more about that later. But I do want to talk a little bit about the recruiting process for us. For 2021 recruiting class, we are trying to bring in 4 to 5 guys. And it's kind of one at each spot. Really, maybe we could go for 2 at the bigger positions at the 4-5 area, but we do kind of have our 4 and a 5 man typically a little bit more of a hybrid 4-5, not a true traditional post player, but we did have 1 or 2 on our team this year that were true 5 men. But our style is more of a 4 out, 1 in type setup, so we do kind of stretch it out a little bit more. So if we have a big that can shoot a 3, it helps a lot. Our 3 man is usually a slasher that can score. As you saw, number 20 on there, he's only a sophomore. He's a pretty phenomenal player. I think he has a lot. He's close to scoring 1,000 points already. So he's going to be here for a few years. I think doing some great things. And then we do need a point guard. And our point guard, our ones, are usually guys that can also shoot a little bit or do something different than just dribble and pass. So we try to have those guys either be someone really good at creating and finishing or be able to shoot outside. And our 2, obviously, you want a shooting guard that can shoot. So someone can make some shots. As well as I like the 2s that can maybe a little bit taller at times, so they can guard a little bit easier, as well as just be a little bit more threat on the court. Anybody is interested in learning more about the basketball side of things, obviously feel free to let me know. I can definitely talk a lot about our team and where we're going and what we're doing. But I want to give a quick overview of kind of the education, as well as show a little bit of the basketball piece. And then I want to talk about kind of what's new for the application for Sarah Lawrence this year. The main thing when you're applying is our application deadline. So our early action, which is non-binding, our early decision, which is binding, are both November 1st deadlines. Our early decision 2 piece is another binding type of process, which is January 2nd. With early action, it is on binding. You find out right around the holiday. With early decision 1, it is binding. You find out right around the holiday, same time. We typically get, I'm going to say, close to 3/4 of our recruits in early decision 1 or early decision 2. It's kind of your commitment to us and our commitment to you. We do obviously have guys go in regular decision and early action. That's completely understandable. And I'm not the type of coach that's going to really, really pressure you one way or the other. I want you to make the right decision, so I'm not losing a person after a year. I want you to stay here for the 4 years and for the long term. So whatever works for you and your family, that's best. But we do try to go with early decision as much as possible, just so we can have a control on our numbers, so we're not over recruiting, as well as it gives you the opportunity to maybe be done a little bit earlier and be excited about coming to Sarah Lawrence once you get accepted. Our admit rates are usually a little bit higher in early decision, and that usually helps us as well. Again, going back to financial aid, it is, we're right around $72,000. That's about the average for private liberal arts college. We do give about $38,000 on average in aid, and we do offer merit-based and need-based aid. So even if you're a full pay type kid where you don't qualify for need-based, you still qualify for merit-based aid. So that's a nice thing that we do offer. Our average debt at graduation is $19,000. This year, we are waiving the application fee through the Common App, as well as offering a couple more writing supplements to make it a little bit easier through the process. Right now, admissions is not planning any on-campus visits in the fall. They may do something, but it's going to be primarily virtual visits and virtual information sessions. So they've already started. If you go to our admissions page, you can sign up for a live virtual information session, as well as a live virtual tour. And anybody who's interested in that, feel free to email me, hit me up afterwards, send me a text. We'll definitely talk more. We are test optional. We have been, and we always will be. This year is no different. And then we do not, all we require for the financial aid stuff is the FAFSA and tax documents, not the CSS profile, which some schools do. if you have questions, please let me know. And it's been really great to kind of give you a quick, brief overview of Sarah Lawrence. And I'll go from here. I'm going to exit back out and talk and let Matt here take it over.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to throw it over to Scotty, have a quick follow-up for you.
So just 2 quick questions. Can you touch on your league, who you play, and how competitive it is? And can you also touch upon, you've been a staple at our all academic, high academic events, how that's helped you in recruiting and how you've adjusted in this kind of a unusual environment?
Yeah, I'll first touch the conference that we're in right now. We're called the Skyline Conference, which is really a conference at a convenience for us, and the fact that it's made up of kind of all schools right around us. Our longest in-conference trip is about an hour and a half, 4 minutes, with the average being about 20-minute drive. So probably a little bit shorter, maybe in some high school conferences, but actually our guys love it because a lot of games are like rival games, and the fans travel, as well as our guys don't miss class, which I think is really important, and they really appreciate that as well. But it is a very athletic conference. It's a conference that's made up of some military schools like Merchant Marine Academy, as well as Maritime Academy. And then it's made up of some state schools like Farmingdale State, Purchase, and Old Westbury, which are 40,000 students. So they can draw a lot more type of players, as well as they get a lot of D1 and D2 transfers. So it's a very athletic conference. Yeshiva University, who is top 5 in the country right now, is in our conference, and we've beaten them and played them close the past 2 years. And it's been a fun ride with that. But I will say the one thing for us recruiting-wise is that we do have to be a little bit different. We aren't going to get the type of state school recruits that some of these schools are going to get. So we do have to get the high academic the guys that are pretty athletic, and be able to compete against some of those. So we've been fortunate in getting a few of them every year. The one thing I will say, we're going into your camps that you guys have run. I've been there since the beginning with you guys, and it's been a fun process to kind of recruit at those events. It's starting to pay off more and more for me with West Coast elite players. I've always done well at your camps, but I'm starting to get some West Coast elite guys, which has been great. And I think I'm going to have 2 now on the team, which is phenomenal. And hopefully you can continue to have more. But one thing I will say that I like about the West Coast elite players is that they typically are 1 or more athletic for a West Coast guy, which is good for us and for our conference. 2, I just think they know the game, and they've been around. They played a lot of good basketball, been coached by good coaches, as well as done some skills. So we do a lot of player development in terms of building their skills when they're here. But I do think that you guys do a good job of getting them prepared with fundamentally. I think the fundamental piece is a lacking piece of guys coming into college basketball.
Yeah. And we appreciate, Coach. Like we've been talking about, you've done a great job flying 3,000 miles to come recruit the West Coast, and it's paid dividends for you. Not this past season, but the year before, you were the coach of the year in the Skyline, the league that you mentioned, working for some other great coaches, but it pays off when you are on the ground level and you're really recruiting. We only have a couple minutes, but I did real quick before we wrap things up. I wanted to touch on, we spoke before we started the webinar that you mentioned you'd been tuning in for our Chicago All Academic Basketball Showcase. And so for a lot of the players that are maybe wondering, hey, should I go to this camp if coaches aren't there? We'll be live streaming all of our events. So out of curiosity, and for some of the players and parents that might be watching, as a coach, when you are watching a live stream, what are some things that are standing out to you from some of the games you saw this past couple days? And just in general, what are some things you're looking for players that could come into Sarah Lawrence?
Yeah, I think the first thing I will say is that during this time of COVID and everything going on, you have to make what the decision is best for you, obviously, and your family. But if you feel like it's safe for you to go and you're not in an at-risk group, obviously I think it's a good opportunity for you to go and do it, and do it as safely as possible. I think West Coast Elite is doing a good job of making sure that health and safety is that foremost priority. So one thing I am watching what I'm looking for is I'm looking for guys that play both ends of the court, offense and defense. One thing that I will say that I am a big person and I'm a big recruiter. Even when I'm recruiting live, if someone's not playing defense or they take a bad shot and they don't get back on defense, unless I've seen them play a couple times before that and I really like them, I'm crossing them off. It's just not the type of kid that I want on my team. And I don't care how good they are. I go a lot off of body language and body character. And even on video right now when I'm watching, I can still see that. I can hear the volume. I can see them doing, and it's pretty clear video. So I'm still looking for that. I think another thing, you have to be able to make some shots. So someone that can score or find different ways to score. Even if the shots aren't going in, as long as you're taking the right shots and it looks good. Every coach knows what they're looking for and knows the fundamentals of how to shoot the basketball. So if you see someone that has a good form and good mechanics, even though they might not be going in that camp, you know what you're looking for. But it's the whole IQ piece as well. So you're taking the right shot. Are you making the extra pass? Which, I know I see a lot of guys, force shots when someone is wide open. Make that extra pass. I get it. I know you're trying to showcase yourself, but make the extra pass. A lot of coaches will appreciate that.
Definitely. And I know you kind of gave us a lot of information and stuff, but for anybody that wants more, we've included your email address in the chat box below, and it's on the website as well. So I hope that players or parents reach out. You guys have a great situation there on the basketball side as well as academically, and not a better person to play for than you, Coach. And we appreciate all your support, having us on campus when we come to New York, coming out to our events, all that stuff. So, stinks that we haven't been able to see you face to face. This might be as good as we get for a little while, but if that's the case, we appreciate the time tonight and joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe and hope all is well. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Scotty, Matt, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Stay safe as well. And I do hope we get to see each other very soon.
Have a good one, Chris.
All right.
Yeah, good night, guys.
We are really excited to welcome our next speaker. He is the head coach at Dickinson College. Coach Seretti, welcome to Tuesday Night Talks.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it. I know this, Matt, as we talked, started out as let's get through the first part of this pandemic venture, and it's turned into a 14-week or 15-week odyssey. So I appreciate you guys having us, and you guys are doing a great job giving folks an opportunity to continue through the recruiting process in a crazy time.
No, we appreciate it, Coach. And for everybody that's on the call, I also wanted to give Coach some credit. Back in March, me and Scotty had been able to have the opportunity to join in on a call that you guys had hosted with your school, and that had kind of given us the motivation to provide these opportunities. So as great of a resource as we've been able to provide, we wouldn't have been able to do that without you kind of creating that spark for us. So I want to thank you for that as well. So like you kind of alluded to, we've been doing this for a while and we've spoken to a lot of coaches, but one of the things that's best about speaking to all these different coaches is everybody's got a different story to tell. So for everybody that's on the call tonight, give us a little bit of background about you and kind of what's led you to your time as the head coach at Dickinson.
Yeah, appreciate it. I don't know if anyone wants to hear the story of an old guy and how he wandered into this profession, but I think the important part of any of these explanations are the opportunity to create legitimate organic networks for yourself and what that can mean to you later. So I only highlight kind of where we've been and for others who are going through the same path. I'm from Pittsburgh originally. Was a decent high school player, less so in college, but I played a year at Division II and then played 3 years at a Division III school after transferring. We were really fortunate to play on 3 national tournament teams in my time. So I was really lucky to learn from a lot of great guys. A little bit of a West Coast spin here. My girlfriend at the time, my current wife, she went to Arizona State. So as I was graduating from college, had no idea what I wanted to do. I had applied to law school back in Pittsburgh. I graduated 2 days later. I went out to Arizona to hang out with her for a month. While I was out there trying to get some jobs in different areas, I got into law school and decided, you know what, something that I thought about doing. I'm going to follow that path. Maybe I'll be an agent, get into sports. I wanted to stay in sports. So I came home to Pittsburgh, got ready for law school, and my former high school coach, and again, talking about opportunity, networking, relationships, he was in a retirement job as a girls' high school assistant. And he said, Al, I need help. You're going to be in Pittsburgh. My sons are attorneys. You're going to have time to do it. I said, Coach, as an 18-year-old, girls like hoops and in the mid-90s, like, I don't know if that's – and I got into it with him, and he pulled me in, and I loved it. The girls were unbelievable. We had a couple Division I players, a couple Division IIs, a bunch of Division III girls. So it was a lot of fun, and I knew I wanted to coach. So I finished law school, and again, timing, opportunity, relationships. Former college assistant coach Carl Jelinek at Allegheny College, where I went. He gets a job at W&J College right outside of Pittsburgh, who's kind of a football power. And he asked me during law school, like, hey, when you graduate, do you want to come? I said, absolutely. So went down there kind of sight unseen for 3 years. Was fortunate, had a friend through recruiting named Scott Lang, who's a great coach at LaRoche College, right outside of Pittsburgh. And we had recruited a lot, worked camps, and coaches said, hey, there's a job open at Penn State Altoona, D3. And the previous coach to me, very unlike me in his playing career, Armin Gilliam, who played at UNLV and was the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. Coach Gilliam had done a good job, but they wanted a kind of a quote unquote someone academic background because coach was moving on. And Scott said, hey, you're in our league. It's the same league, but I know you. I think it's a good fit. I'm going to call the AD. He put in a word, and I was fortunate to get the job at 27 years old, become a head coach at the Division III level after 3 years as assistant at college and 3 years in high school. Was there for 4 years. And again, timing and opportunity, created some good relationships. The guy who came before me here at Dickinson, Dennis Sensis, another great coach, he had come from Colgate and he was moving on. So Dickinson's administration, they wanted someone who had been a head coach. So again, got lucky, applied, knew a couple people who knew a couple people. And then we've been here for 11 years since. So kind of a crazy journey. But again, even when you're meeting people and developing relationships, you never know what that's going to create for you later.
Yeah, definitely. And in your time, your 11 seasons, how have you seen the program grow and shift in that time, and kind of what's the current state of where you guys are at as a basketball team?
We're not as good as we want to be right now, right? I think everyone would like to be in a gym getting better. Yep. But it's been a great journey. So when we came to Dickinson, had pockets of success in the program. So the school is located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is central Pennsylvania, kind of a hub in the Northeast. So we're really fortunate. We're 3 hours from my hometown in Pittsburgh. We're about an hour 45 north of DC and Baltimore, and we're 2 hours west of Philly. We can make New York borders in 3. Again, now you can get into New York in 3:15 or 6 hours, depending upon the time of day you go, for any of you that have traveled up that way. But so we're in a really neat area. The school's over 230 years old. One of the first schools chartered into existence after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So really unique place, top 50 liberal arts private college in the country. But those unique pockets of success that we had as basketball teams, individual teams, we had never sustained into a kind of a program. So that was our goal when we came in. So our first year we took over, we're going to figure everything out. We got it. Here we go. We were 4-19. We weren't very good. And when we learned what the Centennial League was all about, which I'll talk about in a bit, it's a terrific league, and really had our eyes opened up. We were fortunate. We had a captain that year named Matt Dolan, who's now a head prep school coach at Germantown Academy. His best player just committed to Villanova, so really high-level basketball place. And Matt was a terrific player and an even better leader. And we were able to bring in some freshmen with him. Our young guys grew up, and we went from 4-19 to 15 wins, and we lost in the conference championship the next year. So we went from worst to second in the league. And then that run sustained us. So the next 9 years, we were competing in the conference playoffs. 7 of those years, we were in the conference semifinals. And in our league, they only take 5 to get in the playoffs out of 10. So we were there, like I said, 9 straight years. 7 of those years, we went to the semis. 5 of those years, we were in the championship game. And then 3 of those years, we were fortunate enough to advance to the national tournament. We 2013, 14, and 15, we made the NCAA tournament. And then in 13, our first year, we lost in the second round. In 14, we advanced to the Elite 8, where we lost the game to go to the Final Four. And then the next year, we advanced to the Sweet 16. And at the time, for that period of time, we were one of only 3 schools in the country to go to back-to-back Sweet 16s. And we were 2 of the 3 were more academic-minded, higher-level academic schools. So we're pretty proud of that ascent. Since then, the leagues continue to get better. We've gotten younger, and now we're hopefully in the process of trying to make one of those return runs.
Yeah, definitely. And you touched on it quickly, but give us a little bit more about the league and some of the competition some of you guys are playing. Yeah,
I mean, we're biased. We all are when we talk about this, and we do this for a living, talking about our school or our league or our institution. The Centennial Conference is really broken up into 3 pockets. So central Pennsylvania is Dickinson College, Gettysburg, and Franklin and Marshall. You go over to Philadelphia, and you've got Ursinus, you've got Swarthmore, you've got Haverford, are all in that area. You go north of them and up in Allentown, PA, is Muhlenberg. And then the last pocket is really in Maryland. You have Washington College, which is across the Bay Bridge from the Naval Academy down near the shore. And then you got McDaniel College and then Johns Hopkins University. So the travel is great. Washington College for us is the furthest trip, which is about 3 hours. Everything else is under 2. So as far as missed class time or familiarity with the different areas, following teams and the atmospheres, all of that is built in because of the proximity. The level of the league this year in the truncated season, we finished with 2 of the top 8 teams in the country. Swarthmore was number 1 in the country. Johns Hopkins was 8th. And then the one thing we like to point out, when you look at great academic leagues or great athletic leagues in different sports, sometimes 1 or 2 programs can carry the mantle for the league. So, we always use the example of the old ACC. It's different now. But when I was growing up, North Carolina and Duke were in the Final Four every year, and everyone else in the league would claim that. Well, that didn't really help Clemson, who wasn't making the tournament. But they're claiming the success of others. And that happens a lot in leagues at all different levels. We've had 6 different representatives from our conference go to at least the Sweet 16 in the last 10 years. So if you win our league, you're going to be relevant nationally, and you're doing that night in and night out. And the biggest change to our league in the last 5 years, the ceiling was always high. The floor has risen. There are no more. There were, when I first got in the league, and we were one of them, there was probably 2 or 3 teams a year where, okay, if we do what we need to, we can get those 6. That's gone. I mean, there's been a lot of turnover. There's been a lot of, when schools show that they can make runs, everybody else wants to do it. And so now it's been a really fun 18 league double round robin, great competition.
That's awesome. And that's a big reason why players want to come play, is to play against that competition. But I think the number one reason probably a lot of guys are choosing Dickinson is because of kind of the great school that you guys have and the academics that you guys can offer. So tell us a little bit, you mentioned top 50 liberal arts school. Tell us a little bit more about kind of what Dickinson has to offer in the classroom.
Yeah, top 50 liberal arts. And again, I think that a bunch of pieces here. We always tell anybody in the first recruiting conversation we have on campus, you're looking at academic, financial, and social fit for you and your family, period. Now, we're not naive. We coach basketball. So that should be a tiebreaker for you. So if you're the elite of the elite at the Division I level, you're going to look at Duke and Kentucky and Arizona. It should be very similar at our level for what is best for you and your future in those 3 categories I just mentioned. And then basketball is a tiebreaker. Now, what are my relationships like? What's my opportunity like? What's competition like? But those 3 pieces, the academic, financial, and social, are essential. For us, part of it is your living history. Again, we're over 230 years old. So the goal of our college has been the same in all of that time. We have a big focus here on sustainability, which is huge, global education, which is huge, and then the opportunity to get a degree that's going to be useful for the common good is the phrase that we've used. So being very civic-minded. And we actually have a group here that works with civic engagement, and that's a big part of our college. So those 3 pieces, the folks that have walked before you in those 230 years have walked a similar journey. And so when they reach back out to help you and you're trying to get internships or jobs, they know it's been a shared experience. So again, I think the living history part's huge. The faculty ratio, the faculty to student ratio is 9-to-1, 8-to-1, which is one of the best in the country. We have over 80% of our faculty are full-time tenured track faculty, which is one of the better marks in the country. You're not going to be taught by a TA here. You're going to be taught by full professors. Our class sizes, normally you're going to be 12 to 15. You will get in some early classes that'll be 30, 35. But we've had it go down to, we had a math major years ago that had a seminar class, a 400 level capstone class. We had 3 people in it. Wow. And the professor came in and said, how far do you want to go? And let's take this tour. You want to take it? And they really enjoyed that. It puts the onus on you to be prepared and to do your work, but it requires more out of you, which you're going to be able to get more out of yourself. And again, that's what you may not love it at the time. Again, there's going to be pressure on you to learn. It's a learning environment, but that's the point of it. I think the last thing too, I mean, we have over 40 majors in private liberal arts. It's going to teach you the skill of the major that you take, but more so it's going to teach you a way to think. So you're going to want to walk out of the classroom with more questions than answers. And that's the point of this. We have the CEO of LL Bean, Steve Smith, is a former basketball player, graduated in 92. He wasn't a business major. He was like philosophy and something else. He double majored, and he's heading one of the largest, most sustainable apparel companies, at least in the Northeast, if not the country. We always point to, he's a non-student athlete, but if you've ever seen those Justin's peanut butter, like in the Starbucks, whatever, he's a Dickinson grad. And he literally was living in Colorado, walked out of a store because he couldn't find flavored peanut butter and got a blender out at home and made it. And again, he will tell you, and he talks to our students about, that's the ultimate Dickinson experience, is that I saw a problem and I used what I had learned in the past and I created a solution. And so we're trying to create people that are thinking bigger than just what's in front of you.
Well, I'm a huge peanut butter guy, so next time you see him, please say thanks.
It's about $5 per peanut butter cup, but they're pretty good.
I'm gonna toss it over to Scott. I have a couple more questions for you, Coach.
Coach, to fit that, Dickinson mold, what kind of academic profile are you looking for when you're out recruiting?
That's the beauty of it. So we're top 50 liberal arts, but we're flexible in that. We're looking at the student. We're looking at honors AP courses. A lot of it's going to be curriculum. What are the schools you're coming from? You're better off coming from a competitive situation than you are coming from a school that's not challenging you and taking a lower track. So we can deal in the 3.3, 3.4, in that ballpark or higher, depending upon your curriculum. A lot of schools now with the pandemic are going test optional. We've been test optional since '96. So it's been a part of who we've been. We didn't think that was a great measure on what you're capable of doing in college. The test scores can be submitted because that can help you with merit-based aid, but it doesn't have to be if you don't feel like that's a great reflection of what you're capable of. And then the touch points. So not only going through a coaching staff member through recruitment, but when you have a chance to be interviewed, in this case, it'll probably be virtual. But a lot of times we have Phil Moreno is actually a West Coast consultant for us. He works for Dickinson, but he lives in California. And he would travel through all the high schools on the West Coast recruiting for us from that spot. And then he would visit Dickinson monthly or every other. So we have a presence out in California and out in the West Coast, and that's normal for us. But now the virtual interviews would be big to get a feel for what you're about. And then getting folks on campus. Again, like anything, Scott, I mean, it's going to be a fit and a feel.
What's the tuition and the aid look like at Dickinson?
Yeah, this is another thing I always say, and the admissions folks hates me for it. All the prices of schools right now are absurd. We're at $72,000. Now we're fortunate that, we can fill shown need. We cap our loans, and the ballpark about 3,500 is where the cap is. So we can fill that need and we can cap the loan. So it is affordable for families. We're also able to do pre-reads both financially and academically, which is huge. So you don't have to get into this journey. And then you get to February and, man, I love it. I love coach, especially coming from further away. And now you find out it's not a fit for those three categories Coach talked about earlier. We can do those pre-reads early on in the process, and you're going to know where you stand.
Oh, the pre-read's golden. That's like one of the best things for the kids. When they can find out those things months in advance, it makes the whole process so much better.
Scott, best thing for the coaches too, because again, I'm 20 years into this, and there were years where you're making 15 trips, and then February comes in, and you're like, no,
that's true. That's true.
Come on, but it's this process, and I think the pandemic has kind of exemplified this. It's about the fit, and it's about what's best for you and your family. There are a million great schools. Chris did a great job. John's going to do a great job. I know you've had a lot of guys from our league. You've had Leff on here. You had Nashay on here. You had a bunch of guys. You're doing a great job. But it's where does each individual student athlete fit? And our whole goal is to be part of that process. So if the pre-read comes back and it's not a fit for one side or another, if the financial pre-read comes back, if the ability isn't a fit, if the position need isn't a fit, great. But as long as we're both transparent in that journey, then you're not getting stuck at a place where you were sold a bill of goods. And I transferred because the first place I went to was a provisional D2. They were transitioning from NAIA to D2. Coach was good. We won a championship. The people were good. But when I was coming in there was no discussion of, hey, here's what we're going to do. So when I was there my freshman year, we're working out guys from like Akron and Duquesne, and that wasn't me. They were better than me, and I knew it, and I was fine with that. But I would have liked to have known coming in. So when we go through this process, we're probably overly transparent because we don't want you to get into a situation where you have to make a transfer move. And right now with 1,500 kids on the portal, it's an epidemic in our business, and it's, we want to try to avoid it if you can.
No, 100%. Continuity usually leads to success for the most part too.
Yep.
When it comes to recruiting, finding these guys that fit, where do you find recruits? Is it camps, Ivy Leagues, high school games? What's your process?
Great question. So another thing that you'll notice here about the flexibility, I mentioned it academically, it's the same thing with recruiting. Because we're a national school, 39 states, I think it's 48 countries, we are able to recruit in any different pocket. So we could just really mine our contacts and follow individual people. Does that make sense? So, we'll do the Ivies, we'll do the Patriots, we'll do all those year to year. We'll do events, both virtual and in person. We'll do contacts. I've been in this 20 years. Adam Spinella, who Matt's been in touch with, does an amazing job for us with recruiting. He's tireless. He's been an NBA writer, so he has that side of it for him. He's kind of a basketball head. He's been great. So we're able to kind of mine what fits us for that year. We've had years where it's been like, we're going to have next year 2 kids from Wisconsin Wisconsin, which is rare for us. We've had 4 kids from overseas. We've been down in Florida. We've been Virginia, Carolinas. We've been up in Northeast. We've been in the Midwest. So it's really mining all these events and contacts that we have yearly. And then when we get the funnel, you manage that funnel down to who the best fit is for Dickinson and what the best fit is for them and their families.
For the on the court fit, what are some skills and things that you look for when you're watching these guys that fit your system?
Yeah, everyone's going to talk. I'll talk about intangibles in a second, but I don't want to lie to anybody on the call, especially student athletes. Talent. Like all of us want to be Joe Coach and be like loose balls and charges. Yeah, it's great. And we all are about that. And I'll talk about the intangible piece for us, but you need to be good. You need to show that you're able to produce and be excellent at what you do. And it better be a transferable skill. So as you're out there at these events, if you're a dynamic rebounder, I don't really need to see you making threes. I need to see you rebounding like a madman. If you're great at a skill, that's more transferable than being just good at everything. Being good at everything's fine. But when you get to college, everyone's really good at. So if you have a great skill, don't be ashamed that it's not scoring. Be the best defender on the floor. Be the best rebounder on the floor. Be the best. So I think that's the talent piece. It's more than just, hey, pure skill. It's be great at the skills that you have. And then for the intangible part, that's important too. I think energy, like the longer you're in this, like you guys know, you walk in gyms, you coach kids, like we have the ability to choose who we coach. And we've all coached kids when you walk in the gym and it's just like, I hope he has a decent day body-wise today, body language. I hope he has a good attitude today. And you don't want to have to hope for that. So when you're watching these games, the one thing that you can pick up virtually, like when a guy makes a mistake and the guy you're looking at, is he go over and pat him on the backside? Is he dapping him up, giving him a high five? Is he patting him on the head? And I know we all see this stuff in social media and that gets coached up, but I think that's real. I mean, we've gone through practices in the past where we haven't been as energetic. And we've gone back and clipped the amount of times guys have made physical contact, high fives, daps, and our better teams were always unbelievable with that. So that's a sign of leadership that people want to play with you. And that's the other thing that shines through in guys to those folks listening. If you make a mistake on court in some of these events and all 4 guys run over and pick you up, aside from your coach probably forcing that, which I'm sure with you guys with West Coast Elite, that's a mentality. We're all good programs have that. But it shows that the guys believe in who you are as a person, that you're about the right things. We've seen if you make a mistake and no one goes over to you, you might not be living the right life. You might not be going to class. You might be making bad decisions. You're not a fun teammate. And that shows, and you can't hide that. So I think how you're treating people and how you are as a teammate, we're looking for those interactions on the floor along with those abilities.
Are you guys out on the road at all, or is it primarily live streams, emails, and how do you stand out with, with those characteristics in this environment? The once in a century recruiting environment.
Well, Scott and Matt, if you have ideas, please DM me. Don't give them to everybody else you've had on. We're trying to figure it out. I mean, as we tell our players, we're doing the same as a staff. No one asked for this situation. No one's enjoying this. And if you're affected from your health or your families or financially, then this is probably the worst thing you've gone through. If you're not that affected by it, then we've got to flip it into opportunity. So getting a chance to do something like this, we've done a bunch of Zooms. To the point that Matt made earlier, we decided to hold some ourselves early on just to help people at large about, hey, here's some things to think about. We've gotten on committees with other coaches on social justice reform and trying to make some changes in our area and some things that can hopefully create opportunities for folks that are underrepresented. How can, especially Division III, 85% of the head coaches Division III are white. And I think a lot of that is in networking. It's a miss in networking. If you've played Division III your whole life and you've been in your own pocket, then you haven't created a diverse enough network to where when you get a job, you have a folks to hire from different backgrounds, which there is nothing better. We always talk about this stuff, and all of us are going through trainings and committees, and it's vital. But if you don't have a diverse locker room, then this is going to be all academic speak. We're all going to be talking about things that, hey, how it could be. And if you're not around people with different viewpoints and backgrounds, and that's why, again, back to our campus, with about 15% international and about 22% of domestic diversity, you're going to see different viewpoints. That's essential. So I think that's important. So being able to get on things like that. And then for us, we are doing the virtual streams. We can get out personally if we have pre-approval, which is, that's got to go all the way up the chain. And then we're very fortunate that we are allowed to have folks on campus. So for those of you listening, we have very restricted rules. If you're comfortable enough in making a trip, we are mask wearing. We're limited to 2 family members. It's a 90-minute cap, but it's an opportunity to get out and get a feel for campus, which is important. So we are really fortunate to be able to stand out. I know a lot of schools aren't able to do that right now.
That's huge.
Coach, I wanted to give a quick shout out to your assistant. You talked about Adam. Adam also does an incredible job on Twitter. If anybody wants to give him a follow, he puts out some awesome content, like just great stuff. Like you said, he's a basketball head. It's very easy from talking to him, and hopefully some of the players and people on this call that are interested in really the X's and O's, as well as just getting to have a great conversation, I would give him a follow. He's a must follow for me, in my opinion. And great job by you hiring him.
Yeah, well, he was a student here, so he's sat in those classrooms. He was a student coach for us and was essential to our runs that we made as a tournament team. We take that stuff very seriously. We're really fortunate. One of our former players who did some video review and stuff for us his senior year is now an assistant at Temple. One of our former student coaches was Adam. Another one is going to be an assistant in the NESCAC next year. So we've been really fortunate to have those guys really learn their craft in their time on campus, and then it's benefited us because they've obviously come back and given a great deal back to the program.
Definitely. So in addition to guys like Adam and some of those other guys that have gone on from players to become coaches, what are some other things that some of your former players are doing? You mentioned, the alumni network and the big reason for coming to a place like Dickinson is, what jobs can you get after? So what are some things that your guys have done in the past?
Yeah, everything. I mean, we have guys, we probably had 40 grads in my time or right around that ballpark. 20 have got on to get either a grad degree or their financial certifications like the Series 7 or 66. We have a couple attorneys. We look at pockets of alums and kind of I'll describe that in a second. But how we do it is we don't sub out our career services to our folks on campus. They do a great job and we utilize them. But we have an alumni network within Dickinson basketball called Friends of the Red Devils. And we have 7 board members on there. So from the moment you commit to come to us, we send out your clips, your headshots, your articles, and then what field of study you're interested in and what career goals you have. Those 7 then take that information out to our over 500 alums, both male and female, and they start to work. Because not many people at any institution, when you're graduating as a senior with 2 weeks left, and you pick the phone up to call someone and say, hey, you went to Dickinson, can you get me a job? They can't help you. But if they know you, if they know Matt, they know Scott, you have a relationship. Now you have an opportunity. So back to the pockets of areas of study, we've had a lot of success in sports business, even though it's not a major for us. We have international business, we have econ, but I mentioned the way of thinking. We have 5 guys that we always point to. Leon Rose graduated in '83. He's president of New York Knicks. He had Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul. He had LeBron. He was LeBron's first agent. He had to divest from all those guys to take over the Knicks, which we've joked. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But he's great. John Chin is actually the vice president of the Boston Red Sox. John is a San Jose guy, California guy that came cross country, went to Dickinson and obviously got into sports business, is now East Coast guy over in Boston. Adam Katz graduated in '81 and played basketball for a couple of years. Adam's the Wasserman Media Group's baseball division head of agencies out there in California. He's in LA. And he's had guys come out and visit him from Dickinson. He's volunteered to have guys shadow him. And then, the other 2 guys we point to, Eric Amsler was a basketball football guy. He's a director of player personnel for Miami Heat. And then Logan Furr, who played for us on our first championship team in 2013, bringing this full circle using that alumni network. He started the network with that VP of the Red Sox, John Chin. That became an internship for Logan between his junior and senior year of college. That turned into an externship after his senior year because they liked him so much. He went from there to getting a job with the Philadelphia 76ers, the group that owns they and the New Jersey Devils. And then he got headhunted to go out to LA, and he's now out on the West Coast. He's one of the directors of corporate sales for the Lakers. So again, just in that sports business pocket, we kind of show as an example how we can utilize our alumni network, the Friends of the Red Devils, to create opportunities. And ironically, 3 of those guys have West Coast connections.
I love it.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. So you can pretty much do anything you want with that degree, and most importantly with that alumni network, that's pretty amazing to know. So hopefully the players and the parents that are on the call right now are taking note of that. The last question that I had for you, Coach, is you're, in addition to head coach, you also have a role within the athletic department in a leadership role. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what that does within the athletic department and how, if at all, does that influence or affect kind of your role with the basketball program as well?
Yeah, Matt's out there reading bios. I appreciate that.
Gotta do our research, Coach. Come on.
No, I've been really fortunate. When I was at Penn State Altoona, I was able to be an adjunct faculty and teach a freshman form class. I also did it at W&J when I was an assistant. That gave me a little bit of resume background when I got here. And then after we had some success, I was able to move up in the administration here. And I for a time, I headed the compliance department and also game management. So I sit on senior staff under the athletic department. And then I've been able to be on a lot of committees on campus because of that position. I still run compliance with my legal background, which, you know, not a lot of times the coaches love, but, you know, we try to do we always kind of come at that from a question of how. You know, a lot of us at the Division III level who don't have full-time compliance people, coaches want to do right by the spirit of the rule, but how can we make our student athletes better? How can we create more engagement? How can we create better development opportunities? We want to do that and have to do it legally, but we need to find a way. So part of that's my job. I think as far as what that gives us, as far as a basketball program, it gives us access. You know, so when we're going through this pandemic, I'm on a lot of those committees. So we can talk to our families and Zoom with our parents about, here's what you're going to hear, but here's some of the realities. Here's what you need to prepare for. You know, here's thinking big picture. You know, right now I'm on a committee. We have a meeting tomorrow morning about, you know, admissions and how we're going to change what we do through this virtual new world in the time that we're in. So, you know, when you're taking tours across campus, having the little stickers you can flash your phone on, and maybe you get a story from an alum whose favorite spot was that spot on campus and what they're doing now. Maybe you get a story from a coach about a great moment in that facility. We're just trying to think big picture about what can we do better. You know, one of the things we're doing now, and this came from being, again, on senior staff, taking ideas, and then, you know, Adam's brilliant at this stuff, you know, having some alums reach out in different ways. You know, I know a lot of people do that, but utilizing Zoom. And one of the things we did when the NCAA gave the waiver to go ahead and join the Zoom with your student athletes in the spring, we had 4 alums jump on, and we watched one of our NCAA tournament games from 2014. And those alums jumped on with our current players, and they talked about plays in the game, things they did. Hey, here's why this mattered. Here's why we do this in practice. Guys, I know you hate this drill, but watch this play. And I thought that was invaluable. And then they got to ask our alums questions about what they're doing now and how they valued the experience. So I think, again, being a part of senior staff gives us access, and then it creates opportunities to mine the intelligence of other members of that administration and then carry that back to our program.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, that's awesome, Coach. And that access is amazing, and be able to be in that role and, like you said, be able to translate some of the stuff that's going on the macro level more to your guys is really important. Well, you've stayed up very late with us tonight, Coach. We really appreciate that. We love your energy. I really appreciate learning more about you and about the school. So before we wrap things up in the last minute or so, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about or touch on that you wanted to speak about before we kind of end things for the evening?
No, thank you both. Again, Matt and Scott, thank you for what you're doing. One of the phrases we've used in this time to folks who are looking for advice on recruitment is lean on your leaders. Like, you got to be leaning on people that you trust right now. Your AAU program, guys like yourself that run great events, your high school coaches, people in your league. Like, word of mouth is going to be essential. And we're going to have to go a little bit off. You know, we're going to do our jobs. We're going to do the best we can. But we're going to go off the relationships we build in this business. And we're going to have to really have people say, especially, again, when we're talking from distance, how is he a fit? You know, how does he fit? Because we want this to be right on both sides. We know if you're going to come from distance to Dickinson, you're serious. You're serious about your academics. You're serious about basketball. You're having a chance to have an impact both in our campus community and in our program. So we're going to lean on folks that we know in that area to make sure that that's the case, and then to take you at your word, because we're not going to get that FaceTime like we've had in the past. It's going to be a lot of this. And unfortunately, you know, I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. And I think that, you know, it's really important to continue doing what you're doing, because you're giving folks opportunity that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I just want to thank you guys.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate you. I mean, I don't know whether or not we would have ever had a chance to do this if it wasn't for, you know, the pandemic and everything. So even though we're through a computer screen, that FaceTime, getting a chance to connect with you and hopefully all the players that are going to watch this later on YouTube and everything else beyond this, it would be a great resource, and really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. And please stay safe, and hopefully we do get a chance to see you on the road very soon.
Yeah, you too, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
Thanks, Scott.
We'd love to welcome our third and final speaker, coming from, looks like a virtual background, but got to be a real background.
No,
That's Walla Walla.
Real background. Right now, I'm at my cabin, so that's where I'm at right now. So, in any case, so I'm outside.
This is perfect. Well, we're really
Yeah.
excited to have you on tonight, Coach. The brand new head coach taking over at Whitman College. Welcome to the show tonight, Coach Lamanna. I appreciate you, man. Welcome.
Well, I really appreciate it. I appreciate Matt and Scott, you guys having me on, and looking forward to having a good conversation here in regards to Whitman College and the basketball program. Unlike the last two coaches that you had on with Chris and Alan, I don't have the same historical understanding in regards to Whitman College, just because I literally just was hired about 2 months ago. But I've had an interesting career that's essentially brought me back home, and really excited about Whitman and why it's a special place and an elite place. So looking forward to talking with you guys about that.
Yeah, and we're really excited to help give you this platform and this opportunity to speak to some people. And again, I know it's really tough to transition into a new job in a normal year, but not to mention not being able to see people face to face and get out on the road and evaluate and get to meet people. So with that being said, you alluded to it a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what brought you out to the West Coast, or back to the West Coast, I should say.
Yeah, so I pretty much made a big circle is what I did. Started my career out at Washington State University, and that led me down to California to Loyola Marymount. Then from LMU, I went up to UC Davis, and then from Davis, I took my first head coaching position at a Division III out in Ohio. And then from there, after 4 years as head coach, I took another head coaching position down in Florida, where I was for the last 5 years. And there at that position, I was both athletic director and head basketball coach. Whitman has been a job that has always been high on my list. As coaches, you always have some jobs that kind of sit there in your mind, where you sit there and think, okay, if I could ever have an opportunity to work at that institution, I would jump at any chance possible. And Whitman's been that school for me personally. Growing up in Eastern Washington, born and raised in Spokane, Walla Walla is just 2.5 hours from where I grew up. And specifically why Whitman, because we have our greatest rival is actually in the city of Spokane, where I grew up, Whitworth. And so you would sit there and say, well, why Whitman? Well, it's simply the academic eliteness of Whitman. We're a top 35 liberal arts college in the country, and the education itself speaks for itself, and it's a big reason why we draw from all over the world students to come to Whitman, and specifically being on this call with West Coast Elite, being primarily here in California. I mean, right now we have 7 guys from California on our roster. Whitman has been one of the best Division III basketball programs in the nation, earning #1 in the nation rankings, making it to the Final Four, multiple Sweet 16s. I mean, it has been arguably one of the best Division III programs over the last 5 to 7 years, and an opportunity to work at an elite academic institution, as well as an institution that the athletic experience mirrors the academic experience. And so there's a lot to be said for that. And that's what brought me that whole circle from Florida all the way back out to Walla Walla, Washington. So
Awesome. Well,
yep.
we're really excited to have you back in the Pacific time zone. I know you.
Me too.
And yeah, like you said, I mean, being a new head coach, I mean, you're hitting the ground running. It's a school that you've always wanted to be a part of. It's a program that you have an opportunity to continue a lot of success at. So I guess what are a couple things that you're most looking forward to with this new opportunity and kind of moving forward into the fall and, you know, your first cycle of getting to recruit some young people to join you for the future?
For sure. So I was really fortunate in the short time since I've been the coach. I've been able to sign 4 new players, and really think they're very good players for us. And I believe that with the group that's returning and the new incoming players that we have, that we're going to be able to at least sustain that foundation that the program has already had. And then from there, we're looking at how can we continue to bring in individuals that want to be a part of something that's much bigger than themselves. And I'm not even talking about on the basketball side of things, but on the academic side of things as well. The last two coaches, Chris and Alan, they talked about how their schools do an exceptional job of integrating the professor to student relationship. Whitman is no different. We're part of the reason why we're so good academically is our research that we have going on campus, and our students are involved directly in that research. And to be able to be an undergraduate student, not a graduate student, but an undergraduate student, to be a part of cutting edge research is something that it's opportunity that very few people get, and our students at Whitman are provided that. On top of that, we have an internship program, and as we're talking about how we incorporate the greater picture in this elite type of academic experience, or what I like to talk to our recruits about, it's a transformative experience that they get coming to Whitman, is that we actually pay, and I trust me, we pay our students to take internship programs. Our students can make $3,500 a summer. The college pays $3,500 a summer to go and take an internship. The internship could be paid, it could be not paid, but regardless, the college invests in our students. And because of the research opportunities and the internship opportunities that we provide, it's something that is, I've been at, oh my gosh, this is the sixth college I've worked at, third college I've been a head coach at, and I've never been at a school that provides, that I should say, that invests in its students like Whitman College does. So.
All right, sign me up. I'll take an internship, please.
Tell me about it. I asked when I got the job, I said, can faculty and staff participate in that as well? And they said no. So.
All right, I'm going to toss it over to Scott, who'll have a couple more questions for you, Coach.
Coach, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
what is Whitman going to look like in your inaugural season on the court? What are we going to look like defensively, offensively? What are we looking at? What's our identity?
Well, we're going to shoot lots of threes. I can tell you that much. So from the previous school where I was a coach at, where we had a lot of success, we were fifth in the country in threes made, fifth in the country in threes, 3-point percentage. I mean, we literally shoot threes. And so if you can shoot a three for us, we're going to be serious about you. And that's 1 through 5. We're going to get out and go. We're going to play with great tempo and pace, and it makes it fun. And part of that is that we like to launch the three a little bit. And so we'll get it and go. One thing that's interesting that I was very fortunate when I was at UC Davis for 5 seasons, had an opportunity to work with Gary Stewart, who was the head coach at the time, and he brought in the Princeton offense and was able to fully understand the complete package of the Princeton. And I've been running that since then, and we will continue to run that. And it's allowed. We were ranked as the third most efficient offense in the country at the NAIA level, and conversely, defensively now, we'll play primarily man-to-man. But to give you an idea, we were the nation's #1 defensive 3-point field goal. We had the number 1 in the nation 3-point field goal defensive percentage at 25% we gave up. And that's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and junior college. And so if you were to go through that, no one in the nation guards the three better. And so simply the combination of our ability to shoot the three and our ability to guard the 3-point line allows us to win a lot of games and allows us to be competitive at the national level. And specifically why Whitman is, I think Whitman is a school that can be a national championship contender. And that's really what excites me about the position as we talk about its eliteness.
Can you talk about your conference we were going against?
Yeah. So our conference is really strong. And we've had, in the last, I believe, 5 to 7 years, we've had 2 teams in the conference. Whitman has been one. Whitworth has been the other one, who is our rival, who have been ranked number 1 in the nation um, multiple times for multiple weeks during the season. We have others that are in our conference that are top 25. But I just think that our conference is as competitive as it's going to get. My opinion, it's the best conference on the West, definitely. And we've seen that success as we've got into the national tournament with our conference, and how the teams that do make it to the NCAA tournament, they do win games in the tournament, and they progress well in the tournament. And so in any case, and the NCAA Division III, since I've coached in multiple regions, Division III tends to have there's a sense that it's a little stronger out east, and coaching in the East and now coaching in the West, I can tell you that that we're just as good, if not better. And so excited to be a part of that.
I agree, Coach. I'm a big fan of the West Coast, so we're excited to have you here.
Yes.
Can you talk about your experience at USA Basketball and how that kind of developed you as a coach, and what's that brought to your program?
Yeah, definitely. So fortunate that I've had an opportunity to have 2 stints with USA Basketball. I actually was selected. My son is coming out here and joining us, so I apologize for that. So Gabby, why don't you grab him real quick? So in any case, during those 2 stints, I got to work with both the youth festival team, which is the top high school players in the country in Colorado Springs, and then I got to work with, that's my youngest, Louie. So,
I love it.
And I got to work with both the junior national team and the Pan American team. And during those stints, I got to work with the best coaches in the country. And not only did I get to work with them, I lived with them in the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs for multiple weeks, and was a part of the group that got to select the teams that moved on and played in the World Games and the Pan American Games and the Junior National Games. And so I wasn't fortunate enough to move on to go and compete once they started games, but I was part of the whole training camp and the player selection process. And so talk about just an invaluable experience.
No, that's awesome. And you were also on the AAU side of things like we are.
Yes.
How was that? And what did you do in that space? And how does that factor into how you recruit?
So a lot of it's changed since I was a part of it, but I had an opportunity to help put on the Best of Summer, which the Pumps used to or still run, but was a part of that when it was held at Loyola Marymount University, and was a part of organizing that whole event, being a part of the structuring of that event, and working with the teams as they came in and got certified and all that kind of stuff. And so in regards to seeing that side of things, it totally changed my whole perception and understanding of the whole AAU system and the program, and what both Scott, what you and Matt go through. It's the opportunities you guys provide students and student athletes and prospects is something that it goes too much unnoticed. And a lot of times there's coaches and whatnot that will share it, but I just think that because AAU is so prevalent now that a lot of prospects and high school kids, they take it for granted, where it hasn't been like this. And the opportunity to be with the organizations like West Coast Elite and to be able to get that exposure is something that is so important. And that's why we're seeing students that are able to not fall through the cracks like they used to. And I've been coaching for quite a few years, and more so than now, I think that kids are ending up at the levels they're supposed to end up at.
No, I agree. I think the kind of golden thing with the pandemic, I think kids are appreciating what they had.
Yes.
Missing it now, which is kind of huge also.
Yeah.
Coming into a new program, does recruiting work, recruiting in the middle of a pandemic, because you're getting ready for this year and next year at the same time?
Yeah. So there's still a lot that's unknown for this year, which all of us across the country are dealing with. But really nothing changes in regards to what are we constantly trying to strive for. And with me, it's really relationship driven with our recruits. I just talked to a recruit today. Actually, I talked to a recruit today from the Bay Area in California. And I shared with him that through this recruiting process with me personally, I'm not going to sell hard and really what we would call recruit you. Simply, I talk to kids. I share with them who I am as a person. Like I just had my son. He's my youngest of 3 kids. I talk about just who I am, what my life is like, and share with them how Whitman could be a good fit. But ultimately, similar to what Alan shared, I think kids are called to specific schools. I think kids are called to Whitman College. And it's simply finding those kids, and the ones that just kind of feel like at peace and like this is where they're supposed to be are the ones that we're going to have a lot of success with. And through this recruiting process, through the pandemic and whatnot, I don't really think any of that's going to change. We're fortunate. We are, as of August 17th, we're going to start allowing campus visits. And so we'll start bringing kids in as we typically would and go through that process. At the previous school I was at down in Southwest Florida, I recruited kids from the West Coast. I recruited kids from the Northeast, the Midwest, and the Southeast. We were and international. We had 6 kids internationally, and recruiting at such a great distance and length of mileage. It's similar than recruiting in the pandemic. I'm going to have to go through video. I'm going to have to talk to kids, and really it's finding that right fit. And obviously we're looking for the best basketball players possible. But at the end of the day, I am somebody that does take a little bit of a lesser player if I know that he's going to fit well within our system. And if he's going to be a guy who's going to be a real team guy, who's going to be able to help our program be better. So in any case, I'm a little different in regards to that. Unfortunately, I've been able to coach multiple professionals, guys. This in the last 4 years last 5 years as a head coach, I've sent 4 guys professionally, not just like professionally into the smaller minor leagues in Mexico or whatnot, but actually over into 3 of my 4 guys are currently playing at the Division II level in Europe, and 1 is playing at the Division III level in Europe. And so in any case, through this process where I talk about how I'll take a lesser player and whatnot that I feel that will fit, I've seen those guys develop and grow into to now making money playing basketball. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we know Whitman is a great university. It's a great place to go to school, graduate, plenty of job opportunities. We know it's had a great history of success on the basketball court. And so the missing piece, I guess, is you. And now you being there in this environment with a lot of players probably knowing about the school and about the program, but they want to know about you. And I think that's a big piece of it. So if we had some former players or former coaches that you've worked with in the past come on and talk about you, what are some things that you think they would say, or what are some things about you, characteristics or qualities that would make me as a parent or me as a player want to come to Whitman and join you?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt, and it always makes me feel uncomfortable talking about that. But one thing that I've had good success with is my retention, and college basketball retention at all levels hasn't been great, and I've had great retention, and simply because I really target guys that I feel like that we can connect with, that I can personally connect with. And at the end of the day, I coach every kid in the program the exact same way. And it might sound a little cliche, but it's really true. And I believe that that's why we've had great retention with the students that I've recruited and coached. And one thing that uniquely I do is, I don't want to share all our secrets, but I meet with every single one of my kids, my student athletes, my players. I meet with them once a week. I sit down, I meet with them. It's part of their schedule that they have to meet with me. Well, I shouldn't say they have to meet with me. I request for them to meet with me, and we sit down and we just talk. And through those conversations, some of it, I have some questions going into it, but for the most part, we sit down and talk. And a lot of times I'm listening, and it's allowed me to form relationships that are well beyond just this coach-player relationship, where one of my players, former players, he just had a baby. Literally, he was texting me once his wife went to the hospital. And then once the baby came, he's texting me saying that he had the baby. And I mean, it's like, you think about it, out of all of the kids that you coach and whatnot, this is the most important moment in his life. And I'm one of the people that he's texting. And I walked through his first child's birth with him, and to be a part of that, virtually, obviously through text and whatnot, was just so incredibly special. So just to give an idea, and that's why I coach, is to be able to have that. I think the basketball aspect, I love basketball. It's a passion of mine, and obviously winning and competing at a high level is very important. But at the end of the day, it's after the fact. It's the conversations and getting to know the wives of the guys after they get married, and getting to know their kids, and continually being a part of their lives. Because I think a lot of times coaches talk about that relationship, and yeah, they'll have a relationship when those kids are in their lives in that short period of time. Maybe it's 2, 3, 4, maybe some even times 5 years. But what is it afterwards? What is it the next 5, 10, 15 years? And I've just been very blessed to be able to maintain those relationships with the guys that I've coached. And I think it's authentic. And I think they truly know that I do love them. And we talk about that. I talk to our guys about, and I use the word love, and we use that part of our conversation, and it also helps build a camaraderie within our group. And I think that we have a tight group of kids that I've coached in the past because of that. They've been real selfless. I can go on to stories, but in any case, that's just been that's something that's special, and I guess to me personally in my heart. And so
yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, Coach. The last question that I wanted to ask you is, so you mentioned in the beginning that you've kind of went in this circle, and you've worked and lived in different parts of the country, and you also have a knack for connecting and recruiting players from other countries and all over the world. So for the students that are, or the players that are on this call, and the families that we have a lot of players and families that are not just from the West Coast, but we have Midwest, East Coast, some international, and also for the people that might watch this later on online. What is the benefit, excuse me, from your experience with getting to explore a different part of the country? So, a kid that's from the East Coast, what's the benefit to them for coming, 3,000 miles away from home to Walla Walla? I myself went to college in the Midwest, but I grew up on the East Coast, and I loved that experience for me. So, what is it for you in terms of your experiences to recruit players from different parts of the country to come play for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So college, I believe, is one of the most formative times of a young man's life. And to be able to get away from their locale and all of their familiarities and everything, and kind of branch out into a area that's uncomfortable for them. You're getting outside of their comfort zone, I think helps with stretching their overall experience. And maybe Matt, you experienced that as well when you got out of your area. But also it helps build a sense of family and community, because if you have multiple kids on your team that are coming from out of the area, it also requires them to lean on one another a little more than maybe if you're coaching with a group of guys that are all from about 100-mile radius. And one thing that's interesting, the majority of smaller liberal arts colleges, majority of them really pull from about 100-mile radius. There's more, it's fewer and far between the ones that pull on a more national or international level. And Whitman is one of those that pulls from a more national, international level. And so coming to a campus that is a little more rural, where we're 65,000 people that live in Walla Walla, Washington, but the part that's awesome is that they're fired up about Whitman basketball. And so of those 65,000, we get a good 2,000 that show up to our games, to every game. And so, which is essentially a sellout for us. And so that also helps build that camaraderie and so forth, that those kids having a chance to come in and be a part of a community that values them and looks up to them and is excited about them. Because a lot of times at the small college level, you don't get that, where you go to a school and it's people, are a little indifferent in regards to, oh, you play basketball there or whatnot, but to be in a community where they embrace you, and you're somebody that is prominent in the community as a men's basketball player is important, and really kind of refines that college experience. So, but in any case, I got a little off track, but it helps bring a different level of that collegiate experience, because at the end of the day, you only get one of those. So, so that provides that uniqueness.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's great. And that's part of the reason why we've been doing these talks and opening up the dialogues for coaches and players from coast to coast, because there are so many amazing places. And I think there is a huge benefit with stepping out of your little local bubble that, like you talked about. Well, in the interest of time here and letting Louis get some dad time, we wanted to wrap things up here. So is there anything else that you wanted to share just about kind of what you're looking forward to, or just anything about the school or about yourself or the program that you wanted to touch on before we wrap things up for the night?
I just want to just share that if anybody that's looking for a real transformative collegiate experience, and please feel free to reach out to me and contact me. I'd love to speak with you about how our men's basketball experience is going to mirror just the eliteness of the Whitman education that we provide. And so would love to speak with you and share more, and even try to see about scheduling a campus visit. And so one plug, just similar to the other schools, early decision for us is very important. We are an extremely selective school. We don't have entrance requirements. We look at every single individual application, and based off of their whole body of work is going to determine if you're accepted into Whitman. Whitman is not a school that's struggling for enrollment and just going to say, hey, yeah, if you can just make it, we're going to take you. We are ultra selective. And so as I share that, the earlier decision, the earlier time, the sooner you can apply to school and whatnot, we typically, it typically fares better than later. We're open enrollment, so we can take someone even later into the summer and all that kind of stuff, but it just gets tighter. And also our aid packages. Our aid packages are very competitive and very good. And we're ranked as one of the most affordable schools in the country to attend, though we do have a price tag like everyone else at $73,000 a year all in. But at the end of the day, our packages are very strong. And so we'll provide that early read financially as well as academically. And so strongly encourage, even if you have just a glimmer of an interest in us, just jump in and apply, and then we can kind of take it from there. So
love it.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing a lot more of you when we are able to get out and be at events and in the gym and stuff again. But can't thank you enough for joining us. We hope that all the people on this call tonight will reach out. I know we've included your email below, and it's also on the website, but we're excited to have you on the West Coast with us, Coach. We hope you stay safe, be well, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for all that you do, and looking forward to seeing you in person here once everything opens up again.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Louis says goodbye too.
Bye, Louis.
Yeah. I'll see you guys.
All right. Take care, Coach.